Paleontological.
All right. Rolling.
Don't. You're gonna
Camera rolling.
Say it now.
Paleontologist.
Slate.
Or
All
paleontologist.
right, seed 7, take
The other-
1. Mark.
Paleontologist.
With a co at the end.
What's the letter there?
It's my
Yeah, one.
shadow.
Paleontological.
Paleontological.
Hang on a second,
You
guys.
said it better than I did.
No, you're fine.
Yeah, she did.
And action.
Okay, well, here we are. And we found it. We found the cave, but
Wasn't easy.
it wasn't easy, no. Unfortunately, there was no direct route. We had to actually climb a cliff.
We made it in and out in one piece.
Yes,
Thank God.
and back down. But before we found the cave, we found a billboard painted on the side of the cliff, which is what, about 1,800 feet above sea level. So it's got to be the tallest billboard in the country.
That's
And it was called Chilton Paint, so I sent that to you.
yeah. I found out that the Chilton Paint Factory, it was based out of College Point, New York, and they began around 1868. They had a plant. Their first plant burned down in May of 1887, but they were able to rebuild it, and they were in business well into the 20th century.
So it probably wasn't the paint company that was advertising. It was probably like a local hardware store or something that thought they'd be cute to paint this big billboard on top of the
Yeah.
ledge. But it had to be done, because later on this area became a state park. So I know that would have been illegal, so it probably was painted
Sure.
in the 19th century sometime.
Yeah.
But again, so it's got to be like probably one of the oldest and probably highest advertising billboards in the country, which is kind of cool.
That is really
Amazing.
cool. Yeah.
And then we found the cave, and you're right, it wasn't.
Right. Tough
Apparently there was a
climbing.
ledge that went across that originally people could crawl to, but in recent years that sort of caved in. And so we literally had to climb up this ledge and get to the cave.
Yeah, it was fun. Don't want to do
No,
it
it
again.
wasn't. You said it wasn't fun.
It was fun. I don't want to do it again.
All right. But here's the problem. So we found the cave, and sort of the legend is called Tory Cave. Apparently during the Revolution, some guy named Jacob Salisbury, who was a Tory and was responsible for raiding up there, got caught there, and they hung him. Although we couldn't find an old tree that he hung from.
Yeah.
But I can't find anything in the literature about this guy. So I know, you read about, there's like markers, there's all kinds of stuff that has this guy's name on it, and apparently during he did it during the Burgoyne invasion, 1777, but I can't find any real hard data on it, so that's something we're gonna have to continue to look for. And, but then while we were up there, we decided, well, let's just look at the whole place and see if we could find anything else. There were beautiful waterfalls,
Yeah.
and then we found carved on the side of, I don't know how they did it. I mean, it was like, what, 10, 12 feet above
It
where we
was
were.
high.
These initials. And I took a picture and I sent them to
Yes,
you.
you did.
Did you find out who they belonged to?
I actually did. I found a booklet that was published by a Schenectady County historian. His name was Percy M. Van Epps. And
And that's what the
he,
initials
yeah,
are,
and
right?
that's PMVE. That fits perfectly to what you sent me. And he had these beautiful photographs of the Helderbergs and poems. that
Oh, so he wrote
published.
poems about
He
it.
wrote poems. And he was born in 1859 and died in 1951. So,
And the date inscribed here is 1861, I think, or something. So that would have fallen in. So
yeah.
that probably was him. I'm familiar with him. He was the town historian for Glenville, town of Glenville, in Schenectady County. And he wrote numerous histories
Yeah.
of the Glenville area. So that's a great find.
It's a great find, and they're very, very nice poems. So,
Now, this area is 400 million years old, so geologically speaking, I know a lot of the early history, a lot of geological history of New York was actually based on studying this area. And April, you found something about, I thought, pretty interesting.
Winifred Goldring.
oh wow.
She was, I have a geological report that I found written about the area by Winifred Goldring,
Yeah.
who was a field guide to Thatcher Park in 1933. She was also the first female state paleontologist in New York State, and in fact the first in the world appointed in 1939, and
Pretty
did
cool,
pioneering
yeah.
work with the Gilboa Petrified Forest in Gilboa, New York in the 1920s. She also served as a president of the Paleontological Society in 1949 and vice president of the Geological Society of America in 1950, so she's done quite a bit.
And that's pretty impressive because, in science at that time, there weren't a lot of women
Yeah.
in science, let alone hold these kind of positions.
Right, and this book is actually still available, I heard.
So you can still buy it. So it's a
You
field
can
guide.
still buy it.
So, okay, well, that's great. So
Yeah, she sounds like she's
It's
a very
interesting,
progressive
yeah.
woman. Yeah.
now, what I did find too is Charles Steinmetz was this very famous scientist in the 19th century from Germany. And, you know, we all take alternating current for granted. But during the 19th century, there was a big battle between should we use alternating current or should we use direct current? It was called the Battle of the Currents. And George Westinghouse Jr. was pushing AC, and Edison, who Steinmetz worked for, was actually pushing DC. And the reason for it is AC was very powerful, but as it goes over long distances, it loses its power. And nobody could figure out why it did that, which is why it wasn't becoming popular. And Steinmetz was able to figure out why, which was, you know, I'm sure Edison wasn't happy about because Edison wanted to use direct current. But the fact that we use alternating current today is because of Charles Steinmetz and his science. But what I found is actually photographs of Steinmetz and his friends and family actually up here in this
Wow.
escarpment
Having a picnic.
having a picnic, which is pretty cool. These were taken about 1898 or so.
These are
Look at
beautiful.
that.
Yeah, so somebody famous is associated, as well as some of the earliest geologists in America studied this, like James Hall, Amos Eaton. So it's a fascinating area. So I think what we should do is take all the stuff we found
Yeah.
and, you know, links to any kind of internet sites or books and put it up on our Facebook page for
Definitely, yeah.
people to be able to get. So this was great. We found a lot.
Yeah, amazing discoveries.
Great job.
So good. So we'll be back here next week
Yeah.
for a new adventure.
Yeah, that was
Great
really
job,
nice.
everybody.
Good.
It's what happens today is not important until tomorrow. Thanks.
Thanks, Sam.
Thanks, Don.
Thank you.
Good.